Having a call.
Well, good evening, everybody. This is our Laurel Highlands Council Scouting Update meeting. I'm Dr. Dan Zimmer, your Council Commissioner. I'd like to welcome all of you this evening. A few housekeeping items. One, the meeting is being recorded for your future use and for you to pass on to other scouters. And at the end, we will have a Q&A session. Please enter all questions into the chat room. So with that, we will begin with Steve with our opening pledge.
All right, greetings everyone. My name is Steve Frank, and I serve you in a variety of capacities in Laurel Highlands Council. The current one that's pertinent here is I am the Assistant Council Commissioner for the Scouting Update Series. And so with that, we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Invite everyone to raise your hand over your brow if you're in uniform. If you're not in uniform, put your hand over your heart. And here we go. On my honor. I'm sorry. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
United
States
States
of
of
America
America,
and to
And
the
to the
to the
republic for which
republic
it
for which it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
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 under
under
God,
God,
under God,
indivisible,
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 with
liberty
liberty
and
and
justice for
justice
all.
for
justice
all.
for all.
All right, Steve, why don't you walk right into our Paul Miller Law?
Absolutely. This is a relatively new law, and I have a short write-up on this. Paul Miller's Law is a hands-free driving law in Pennsylvania that makes it illegal to use or hold a handheld communication device while operating a motor vehicle. The law took effect on June 5th and is named in memory of Paul Miller Jr., who was killed by a distracted driver in 2010. Key provisions of this law include, first, a ban on handheld device use. Drivers are prohibited from holding or supporting a phone or other electronic device with their hand or body. This applies even when temporarily stopped at a red light or in traffic. Covered devices. The law applies to interactive mobile devices such as cell phones, smartphones, personal digital assistants, and portable computers. Enforcement as a primary offense. Police can pull over and ticket a driver solely for holding a device while driving. The penalties. For the first 12 months of this law, in period that we are in right now, drivers violating the law will receive a written warning. After June 5th of next year, the penalty is a $50 fine plus court costs and other fees. Severe consequences include or are distracted drivers who cause a fatal crash could face an additional 5 years in prison, which I take that to mean above and beyond any other penalties that occur as a result of uh, that situation. There are exceptions for hand-free use. Drivers are allowed to use voice-activated systems or mounted devices for phone calls, GPS navigation, and music. And there's also an emergency exception. The law permits the use of handheld devices to contact law enforcement or emergency services. Now, back on the exceptions for hand-free use, even though that is the way it's written for Paul Miller's Law, please also remember that even if you are not actually holding or touching the phone, if you are conducting a phone call while driving, you are necessarily distracted. So it is still strongly urged that you do not even partake in phone calls unless they are of an emergency nature while driving. And that is Paul Miller's Law.
Great. Thanks, Steve. Obviously, that's a big change, and I have a feeling that the vast majority of people have no idea about this. So that's why we brought this to all of you this evening. So let's move on to our safety minute with Vern Smith.
Okay. Okay, hold on, folks.
Vern, I don't think we're hearing anything.
Come
Actually, three key reasons. First, completing a health history promotes health awareness and provides critical information needed to treat someone in the event of an illness or injury. It also provides consent for treatment in the event a participant needs emergency care while traveling away from a parent or guardian. Second, poor health and lack of awareness of risk factors have led to disabling injuries, illnesses, and even fatalities. And third, the annual health and medical record also serves as the tool that enables councils to operate day and resident camps and adhere to BSA and state requirements. Parts A and B should be completed for all participants and scouting leaders. Part C should be completed by a licensed healthcare provider before the participant attends any scouting event that is longer than 72 hours, such as a summer camp, trek, or multi-day excursion. The optional High Adventure Risk Advisory, formerly known as Part D, needs to be shared with the examining medical provider during the pre-participation examination to explain known health risks for each of BSA's 4 high adventure bases. Additionally, your council may develop a risk advisory specific to your council camp or other properties or events. To assure privacy, the form should be maintained by a designated leader, carefully stored and used only as needed to provide for planning and rendering care. Medical forms should not be scanned, stored, or sent electronically except as specifically directed for a BSA national event such as the National Jamboree. To keep up with possible changes in health status, the form needs to be updated annually or when a participant's health information changes. Find more tips and resources on AHMRs and other safety moments on the Scouting Safely website at scouting.org.
All right. Thanks, Vern.
All
And
right.
look, how about back to Steve again for our membership moment?
Right. And I will share my screen again. And the membership moment for this for tonight is year-round recruitment. Historically, there has been a strong emphasis on fall recruitment drives to replenish unit membership. Spring recruitment drives were added to include more youth during summer activities. However, we are now in a time where year-round recruitment is possible and preferable to the once or twice a year recruitment events. While online registration and year-round programs, or with online registration and year-round programs, a youth can join whenever it fits their schedule and lifestyle. Youth who participate in fall or spring sports can join once their playing schedule is over. We also have the possibility of running recruitment events in the colder weather of winter when many sports programs are on hiatus. The new Cub Scout program does not penalize the scout for missing the fall or for any one season for that matter. Units should plan for year-round recruiting, and a year-round activity calendar that keeps their scouts busy and actively advancing regardless of the time of year they join the program. Benefits include a richer program year with 4 seasons full of new and engaging activities to keep scouts involved. Year-round recruitment can be event-based or happen when scouts invite friends to join or come to a fun activity. And a quick question for you to consider on your own: what type of year-round recruitment activities does your unit hold? Finally, I'm going to just point this out for everyone's benefit. You can read about these techniques on the Marketing and Membership Hub at scoutingwire.org/marketing-and-membership-hub.
Great.
That is your membership moment.
All right. Thanks, Steve. Let's move on to our big rock topic tonight. And we'll start off with SYT, which was formerly Youth Protection Training with Jack Boyd.
Good evening, everybody. This is Jack Boyd. I'm going to give you a brief update on what's going on with our SYT numbers and where we're at right now. As a council, we currently have little over 5,000 adult registered adults. So if we were to hypothecate that there is, one every day as a council, we would have 14 people expiring every day if one person was on there. So if I was to divide the numbers up, so that's what we're looking at as a council. We potentially have 14 people expiring every day of the year. So national number is, the goal was 98%. Our council, we currently are at 95.8% as of today, which puts us 17th out of 17 in our region. And it puts us 191 out of 235 nationally. So consequently, council is looking at this, and they've asked me to kind of champion the SYT numbers for the council. So currently we have 149 expired people, and I'll go through this a little bit more. And then we have 63 that have never taken it, which are basically youth folks. Some key points to think about when you're getting ready to recharter. Scouts who have turned 18 need their clearances for PA. They are free as a volunteer. And if they're not going to remain active, we need to delete them. And to delete them, either contact your unit commissioner or let your DE know so that we can get them out of the system. When you're completing your charters, make sure no one has an expiration date prior to May 31st. And the reason I'm saying May 31st is because you might send your charter in now, but for different reasons, it may get delayed or something like that. And then you may have folks that have expired in January, February, or March, even though that they weren't expired at the time. So kind of use May 31st as your target date for, anybody. And if you have anybody that's going to expire before May 31st, have them do their SYT training right now. Scan your roster for duplicate ID numbers. Some of your folks have more than one ID, and if you have individuals that are on your unit and they expire under one ID, they might not be expiring under the other ID, so we need to make that training consistent. If you have individuals in your unit that drop or they become inactive after you register, here again, please notify your commissioner or your DE. Let them know what's going on so that we can get them out of the system. Any scout turning 17, and this is just a suggestion, you should have them go ahead and take their SYT training. It's going to make things a whole lot easier for you on the other end, if they're in there and they turn 18 in the meantime. And as far as we went back and touching on Mike or on Steve with membership, encourage your 18-year-olds to sign up as adults and kind of bring them into your troop and try to encourage them to be part of the program going forward. So if we were to look at rechartering starting today, we have 42 committee members that are expired. We have 4 COR members that are currently expired. We have 7 merit badge counselors that are out of date. We have 3 LEBLO leaders. We have 7 assistant scout masters. We have 3 Cub masters that are expired. We have 5 committee chair people that are expired, 7 den leaders, 1 scout master, and 2 lines. So most of your units could not recharter with these numbers. So you need to be taking a look right now to see who needs this training completed. Because if your COR is not active, you're not going to be able to get your charter signed. And the same way if you don't have all your key positions filled. So these are some points that we need you to look at. Starting January, and this was just approved and it hasn't really been publicized yet, the council is coming out with a new set of guidelines whereby, and I can just briefly read it to you, but we'll post this out there. It says, in keeping with Laurel Highlands' top priority of safeguarding our youth, and in alignment with Scouting America's established goal of 98%, the following policy will start January 1st, 2026. All registered adults with an expiring youth will be suspended from their role upon the date of their expiration. So you can't let this ride 4 or 5 months after you expire. So in essence, like today, if any of those units were out doing a scouting event and those people were expired, your unit is basically illegal and you're operating in violation of the policies. So we really need to tighten up on this. This policy will be posted and you'll have a thing where bring the suspended people back in. On the downside, if you let your suspension run too long, you may have to re-register. And then that'll be all the aggravation of going through a new application and everything else. So any questions on what I'm talking about, or anybody have any thoughts or comments? And this has been an ongoing issue for Laurel Highlands for past couple years now. We have not been able to get close to that 98%. And as the council, Todd has decided now is the time to start doing that. So this is the direction that we will be moving towards. Anybody have any questions or anything, or you think I would put it in the chat and we'll get it kind of at the end of the evening there.
All right, great, Jack. Obviously, very important information, and it's about time we've been able to handle this appropriately with this new age of liability. Because as you had mentioned, these units will not only be functioning out of protocol, but also they will not have insurance, which then that liability could fall to the individuals and or the chartered organization. So as we've continued to say, it's really important to keep your SYT up to date and look ahead and don't fall behind, because now if you do starting in January, it's going to be a big problem for you to get back on, a big hassle. So hopefully that'll be enough of an incentive to have people sit down for that 90 minutes initially for the new SYT. And Jack, isn't it about 20 minutes after that then?
It's a 30-minute segment for the retraining.
All right, so it'll be much quicker. So we hope everybody will pass that information on. So in the same vein here, we're going to have Mike Lipnicki talk to us about the new clearance system, which has been up and running. Mike, what can you tell us about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So the new clearance system is up and running. We've kind of worked out the last of the kinks, I believe, at this point. So the new clearance system is an online portal that you can access through the Laurel Highlands Council website. If you click on resources and safeguarding youth, there's a series of arrowed points about the middle of the page. The fourth one down lets you click to upload your clearances. And that's where you can have a portal for every registered person in the council to manage your clearances with council directly. There's no more having to run them downtown or anything else like that. You just take the digitals, you get your email back from the clearance providers and give them to us directly and upload them. That system also emails all of your unit leaders, your unit key threes, to let them know what the status of everybody's clearances are. And that's going out monthly now. It's also now starting to go out to your district key threes. So the district gets a chance to see what's going on inside their district. Units get a chance to see what's going on inside their units. And your district executives can pull reports on demand whenever they're needed. What this is going to allow us to do long-term is streamline some check-in processes and keep an eye on this. Just like with the Safeguarding Youth training, it's very important that our clearances are up to date. It's state law that mandates that we have those clearances, so they have to be in, they have to be on file, or you shouldn't be working with youth. And this is how we're making sure we're staying safe and that nothing's getting lost. So that's the basic summary of it. Does anybody have any questions about the clearance system? Oh, thank you, Mike. And it is above all those big buttons. There's that last arrow there where it says upload them here. That link right there takes you to the sign-in page. And if you're not sure where to get your BSA ID, if you log into my.scouting, it shows up at the top of the page. Or your unit leader should be able to get it for you if you're not a Key 3 member. It should be pretty easy to get it.
All right, Mike, is that all?
I believe so, unless anybody has questions. I mean, I can jump further in, but I don't want to try to over-technical anybody.
It's just nice knowing that we have that system available to us, which does make life a lot easier. And as we might all remember, these clearances are every 5 years. It's easy for individuals to forget that their 5 years is coming up. So with this new system, we help in that endeavor. So that's now good news for us. Moving on here, Jack, do you have anything else you'd like to add about the transition of our 17-year-olds to 18-year-olds, what units should be doing?
Well, basically, the big thing that we really want everybody to do is as soon as they turn 7, or as soon as they get over 17, we know that they are going to, if they're going to stay in the unit past 18, we need them to have those clearances in place before this. What we're seeing is some of the units are saying, well, they haven't quite finished up their Eagle, or, we're waiting until they do their border review or this or that. The reality is once they turn 18, they need to have those clearances. So they can go ahead and pretty much do the SYT training prior to being 18 or anything else, and then that's out of the way. And then once they turn 18 in your unit, then you need to go ahead and make sure that they do have clearances. So the other thing that we're seeing is they're not getting dropped off the rosters. It's like, well, they're over 18 and nobody has made up their mind what they're doing. We get this answer back, well, they haven't told us what they want to do. Well, we just need to know what they're going to do. They either need to be, moving forward as a registered adult, or they need to drop out of the program and they can't participate with the troop until they have those clearances done. So that some of the problems that we're having right now is the fact that we have too many people that are just hanging in the system and they haven't been deleted back out. So as a scoutmaster, if you have somebody there and you sit down and you know that they're going to turn 18 prior to the end of this charter year, have that conversation with them, explain to them that they need to do the training, they need to get their clearances, and keep in mind these clearances are free and they can do them, and it won't cost them anything to do it, but it'll keep everything up on the up and up for us.
So Jack, individuals that are 18, they have the ability to sign up as assistant scoutmasters as a registered position, correct? So is that something
Correct.
they should do at the same time and do that
They could do
training
that.
also?
Yeah. I mean, here again, when we talk about membership, we're losing, in this case, we might be losing another 75 or 80 scouts. Could we be a little bit more proactive and say, hey, Jason, you've been a great scout. Have you considered staying on? Would you like to have a role with us going forward? And we might be able to capture some of those kids. And, the more that we capture, the more we keep in the program, then we don't have to return and try to find new membership every year. So if we can catch them and keep them, then we're better off.
Great. All right, Jack, thanks for that. So before we move into the Q&A session, I would like to do my public service announcement. As has been alluded to, unit renewal is right around the corner here. As of October 1st, all units will be able to renew. And remember, membership renewal and swapping your leaders around really doesn't have anything to do with unit renewal. Once you log into that page, it can take you as little as 90 seconds to validate your unit that at that moment, all your individual leaders are in place. They are all trained. You can click the button, pay the fee, and your unit is good for another year. But as Jack had mentioned, you do have to be careful that even with that, you may have a key 3 leader that whose SYT and or clearances may expire later in the year. So you do want to keep track of that. But since this is our second year doing this, and as we've said, your membership renewal has nothing to do with unit renewal. And through unit renewal, you really should not be trying to change all your leaders at that point. You should be doing that now if you so choose. So starting October 1st, we want you to renew right away, because remember, we do have that unit incentive of $10 per registered scout if you are renewed by November 15th. So keep that in mind, because that credit can be used towards all of our camps and day camps. So with that, I think we will move into our Q&A session. Mike Sedor, if we have any. If not, we'll move into our closing prayer.
So right now, I do not see anything in the chat or in the question and answer section. So right now, everybody's been quiet.
All right. Well, sometimes we answer all the questions up front. We don't have any questions. So with that, I would ask the panelists if they have anything else left for the good of the group. If not, Steve, would you like to take us into our closing prayer?
Absolutely. If everyone could put themselves into a position of reverence, I would like to read Baden-Powell's prayer. Our Father, make us trustworthy, make us loyal, teach us to be helpful, make us friendly, Train us in courtesy. Make us kind. Train us in thrift. Be brave. Help us to be clean. And may we remember that our bodies are thy holy temples. Help us to be reverent toward all things which thou hast made for our enjoyment when we are in thy great out of doors, among the trees, along the streams, and on the hillsides. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for that, Steve. And with that, we will adjourn for this evening. Our next meeting for the council will be in December. You should be seeing your announcements in your council e-blast. And until that time, we wish you well. And with that, good evening and good night. And if Mike Sedor could keep the panelists engaged and allow our participants to leave the room, we will do a debriefing.
Sounds great.
And Mike, you can also stop recording once